once upon a time, there was a town called Immokalee, located in the southwest part of Florida, where there were a lot of mean bosses. There were workers in the fields that in the years of the 90s, the early 90s, were receiving wages that were stagnant since 1978. They were working hard. They were trying to survive and to feed their families, but the wages were too low. And the bosses were so mean that the life was so horrible. But then, at some point in that history, there were workers who had a beautiful idea of talking to among themselves and talking to workers, other workers in the community, to try to organize, to try to change that story of abusive conditions, abusive bosses, and stagnant wages. So on that story, the next chapter was a protest. 3,000 of those workers organized in the central location of Immokalee, in a parking lot where workers go to look for a job around 4 a.m. And on that parking lot, many of the companies send their drivers to pick people up. The reason of the first strike ever in Immokalee was because a company, a tomato producer, wanted to pay less than the minimum wage. Whoa! Just because. And they thought at that moment that nobody was going to say anything against that. But they were wrong. Very wrong. 3,000 people gathered at that parking lot in 1995, then again in 1997, and again in 1999. In between, there was a march against violence after a worker was beaten in the fields for stopping to drink water. Wow. There was also an incredible sacrifice that happened in the 90s when workers declared themselves in a hunger strike for 30 days to ask the industry of the tomatoes to sit at the table with them and change the horrible conditions. But it took some time for them to realize. So the workers decided to do something that at the time was unthinkable. The workers had a really good night of sleep, and on that night of sleep they had really beautiful dreams about the future, about changing not just the conditions farm by farm, but transforming the entire industry of tomatoes in the state of Florida and all over the East Coast. The year was 2000. The conversation started to shift around, wait a minute, we are trying to transform the minds of these tomato growers that see us as tractors. They don't want to recognize our humanity, and they keep saying that the big buyers are the ones that are getting the profit instead of them. So the workers thought to themselves, how about talking to Taco Bell? What if we send them a letter? The hearts of those workers were broken very soon. The letters, very lovely letters, asking for a meeting with them were never answered. Instead, horrible excuses were given to the workers. So the workers knew at that moment that they needed to find some alliances. So they talked to churches all over the place. everywhere around Immokalee, outside of Immokalee in Florida, outside of Florida in the entire United States. But they also talk to students. And the students were really, really excited. So they started their own campaign following the lead of the community of Immokalee. The students decided to boot the bell from the campuses, and it worked. A boycott was declared nationwide, while the students kicked one Taco Bell over here, one Taco Bell over there, in total 26 by the time the boycott was over. That made Taco Bell and the Chihuahua, which, by the way, the Chihuahua is not guilty of anything. Let's establish that. The Chihuahua was poor and was a victim of the circumstances of corporate greed at the time. We had a conversation heart to heart.
Free the Chihuahua!
So, but anyways, Taco Bell came on board, those alliances worked, and the campaign continued. The year was 2000 when that historic agreement happened. Before that agreement even happened, many people thought that it was not possible for workers, the poorest workers in the nation, to dream about the day in which they could bring corporations like Taco Bell to the table. How? But the alliances proved that that was possible, and not just with Taco Bell, but with McDonald's, Burger King, Subway, Whole Foods, Bon Appetit, Compass Group, Automark, Sodexo, Trader Joe's, Chipotle, and McDonald's. At some point, a rap song should be done about that, with all of those names included. But, continuing with the story, that led into the creation of the Fair Food Program. So those workers, for the first time, were seeing what they call a new day in the fields. In that new day, women no longer had to suffer sexual harassment. Workers no longer have to give up their time in the fields without payment. Violence for stopping to drink water was no longer the case. Situations of slavery that have happened many times in this industry were forbidden under this new day. So that's what happened on the story of Immokalee. After many attempts and after asking the question, the workers were asking the question to themselves. We have some corporations that are working with us, but how about Wendy's? She looks so nice, like she seems really simpatica, and I don't know how to say that, but it doesn't matter, I think you get the point. But she continues to refuse to do the right thing. And not just that, but she says that as a corporation, they buy from farms that are participating in the program. So the workers said, that doesn't really matter, Wendy's, because you are not paying the penny a pound, which means your business is not helping to address the supervisory wages that other corporations are helping us to address. Yeah. And workers also said, let me ask you a question. If somebody beat me in the fields, can I call you? Can I have your digits? Wendy said, no. So you can't report to me. And even if I knew that that was going on, I have no commitment to cut purchases from any grower because I love tomatoes like that. Just like that. with no rights included. What Wendy doesn't know in this story is that now consumers are going to be able to tell where the tomatoes that are fair are coming from. Because a label was created. That label is available on Whole Foods and Compass Group. And soon it will be also available in other corporations that have signed. But not in Wendy's. We don't know how this story will continue because we still have many things to do today, more fun to have, but we know how it ends. And the way in which it ends is in Wendy's signing this agreement. Why is it that we know that as workers? We know that because we are not alone. We know that because all of you are here and because more people will be with us on this struggle. And we know that a drop of water constantly hitting the rock can break it. So we will break the resistance of Wendy's. It's just a matter of time. And this was the Cuenta Historia that goes on because we need to paint the next chapter with this march. Thank you very much.